everybody from wherever you're joining us across our beautiful continent of Africa. My name is Sapi, and welcome to this month's edition of A Closer Perspective. And today we are unpacking advocacy from the view of millennials. And I'm joined tonight with two really incredible ladies who are very passionate, who are strong-willed, and who are not afraid to let their voice be heard. Welcome to Cinderella and Tatenda, who are joining me this evening. And just to tell you a little bit about my two guests tonight, Tatenda Gombani is a social entrepreneur who holds a bachelor's degree in politics and public management. She's driven by passion for the rights of women, primarily the empowerment of the girl child, by at the very least giving them the same opportunities availed to the opposite sex. Her most noteworthy occupations being fighting period poverty to improve their health and well-being, and ultimately to live in a society where gender equality is the norm rather than a right that has to be advocated for. She's passionate about journalism and uses media to enhance her advocacy, and her personal motto is do all things with love. Tatenda, welcome and good evening.
Thank you so much, Happy, for having me here. And hi to everybody who's watching.
Fantastic. Then we've got Cinderella and Ndlovu joining us from Bulawayo. Cinderella is a young environmental scientist. She's the founder and executive director of Green Hat Trust, a youth-led nonprofit organization based in Bulawayo, Zimbabwe. She's driven by her passion for the environment. Cinderella continues to learn and grow through volunteering and enrolling in relevant courses to advance her knowledge and skills. She is a climate reality leader trained by the former VP of the United States, Al Gore, and a Rotaractor under the Rotary International, where she's part of the Council of Southern Africa Environment Support Group. Her goal is to continue to learn and grow, and as an environmental and climate change expert. Cinderella, hi and good evening.
Hi, Sapi. Hello, everyone. It's great to be here on the show.
Great. We are coming to you live on YouTube as well as Facebook. So join in the conversation. We'd love to hear your comments throughout our conversation this evening. So in 2050, right, research says that Africa will have 1 billion people under the age of 18. That represents 40% of all young people in the world. So Africa is an extremely young population. And this millennial generation that we hear so much about, born between the years 1981 and 1994, that means roughly they're between the ages of 25 and 40 years. There's so much that has been said about millennials. They are a purpose-driven generation, and we've seen how they've made an impact in their different communities. Recently, a couple of years ago in South Africa, the hashtag school fees must fall, that was driven largely by young people. And currently I am in Lusaka in Zambia, and they've just gone through their general elections where they elected a new government, and 60% of the people that turned out to vote were under the ages of 30. So definitely the young people are making an impact, and they are speaking up and making their voices heard. And that's what we want to hear about this evening. Tatenda is 24 years old and Cinderella is 26 years old. I first met these ladies in the first quarter of this year, where they were participating in an advocacy project that was being facilitated by the Frederick Norman Foundation. And I had the privilege, along with 3 other colleagues, to be a panelist and a judge, hearing these young people speak about subjects they're extremely passionate about. And it was such an exciting experience for me, hence me having them on our show today to tell us a little bit about their project. So Tatenda, I'll start with you. Can you just tell us a little bit about your project, which goes under the title, My Sister's Keeper? Can you just tell us a little bit about it? What led you to start the project?
Okay, so My Sister's Keeper is a project that aims at empowering young women and girls in Zimbabwe. through advocacy. And the reason why I chose that was because as a woman, I know what we go through when it comes to menstruation. So it's just imagining what someone else is going through when they can't afford menstrual hygiene products. So that's when you have cases of women that are resorting to using unsanitary products. Some are said to be using cow dung, some are using paper. And just imagining that itself is very painful for me. So that is why I came up with My Sister's Keeper. And it was through this project that I had menstrual health workshops to educate them on how to handle their menstruation and how to empower themselves. And this was through the making of reusable pads. So the main goal of the project was to restore their dignity and their self-esteem, because when you're going through this and when you're having to use cow dung or whatever you're using when you're menstruating, it takes away your dignity, it takes away your self-esteem. You don't feel good enough, you're shy, you shy away from activities. Some even don't go to school. So I wanted to restore their dignity, and I wanted them to be 100% the women and the girls that they are and reach their potential.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And Cinderella, you were running a project around the environment. I mean, I can't imagine at 26. I'm trying to think of myself when I was 26. Was I concerned about the environment? And here you are at this young age of 26, standing up within your community. Tell us a bit more about your project and why you chose environment. We know in your bio that it's something that you're extremely passionate about.
Okay, so for my project, I chose championing community-led waste management best practices. So as you mentioned when you're introducing me, I stay in Bulawayo, and Bulawayo used to be the cleanest city in Africa, but from daily lived experiences, that is no longer the case. So for me, as someone who's really passionate about the environment, I felt challenged to do something about that. So through my advocacy campaigns, I engaged in environmental education and awareness in various communities with the aim of actively involving and solution formulation. So each Friday of the month we also have campaigns. But if you go back to the same spot that you did it, you find that that's already there. So for me, that was indicative of a deeper problem whereby communities are not actively involved in waste management. So in my advocacy campaign, I sought to do that, and I also sought to work with waste pickers. In a lot of communities, there are people who pick waste, recyclable materials, and they sell those to various entities that are into recycling. So from observation, I also noticed how these individuals are not really respected. Their profession is not even regarded as a profession at all, yet they render these wonderful environmental services to our community, to our nation, because waste picking is just about the only means through which waste is being recycled in Zimbabwe, if I may say. So in my advocacy campaign, I also wanted to highlight how communities can form synergies with waste pickers within those communities, and how everyone can actively play a part in having a clean environment and keeping it clean, instead of always having to clean up, as well as exploring other avenues of the circular economy, how people can have businesses and recycling at the same time taking care of their environment.
So what was that's very interesting. I like the aspect that not only were you looking at making sure that the environment was actually clean, but there was a sustainability aspect in it, in that you engaged people who are in that value chain, being the waste pickers, to actually go and see what was recyclable, and thereby making a living for themselves, and also while continuously keeping that environment clean. So tell me, what was the very first thing that you did in setting up your advocacy project? What was step number one?
And setting up my advocacy campaign, I think what I really understood from the get-go and from the training sessions that we were holding with the Frederick Norman Foundation was how this task is is not a one-man task that will require working with a lot of people, both governmental, non-governmental institutions, and community-based groups. So what I did was I attend every national cleanup that is happening in Bulawayo. So during the month of April, every Friday was a cleanup campaign. That was a lot of work, because having attended those, it also meant that I was part of the cleaning crew, and also it meant that during the cleaning process, I would also have to communicate with members of particular community to find out the challenges that in that community. So through my campaign, I managed to build a lot of relations with the Environmental Management Agency, and I also got
Seems like we're having some network issues with Cinderella, which is not uncommon
to
in our
interact
part of the world.
with other entities to be able to harness, also push the agenda that's going to help towards having clean environments. So attending up campaigns, holding educational programs for young people, even through WhatsApp, on the kinds of waste that they can recycle, what one can do when they want to enter into the recycling business, and also, like I've already mentioned, working with the Environmental Management Agency.
Okay, great. We lost you a little bit there, so I just want to make sure that we captured everything. You said one of the first things that you learned by going through the training that was being held and facilitated by the Friedrich Naumann Foundation is that when you want to make an impact, you work with the team. It's not an individual type of thing. You work with the team. And the first thing that you did was actually partake in the weekly cleanup sessions. We know that there's been a cleanup campaign that has been spearheaded through the president's office and happening in various communities at different times. Is this the same that you then kind of piggybacked on that was happening on a weekly basis in various communities within Bulawayo?
Yes, it was the same presidential cleanup. So one of the problems that was already being faced here in Bulawayo is the low turnout in cleanup campaigns. So through active engagement with communities to be able to also build that understanding of why they also have to participate in the cleanup exercises and play an active role in maintaining those spaces clean was a really important aspect of making sure that it's sustainable and not just always having to clean up.
Okay, fantastic. So you keep talking about various communities. How many communities did you actually engage with during the duration of your project?
Say I've engaged about 10 communities for the month, which is every Friday we had a cleanup in a different community. So one of the communities that I worked extensively with was in Ward 7 in Makokoba. So Makokoba can be regarded as a hotspot for the COVID task force for Ward 7. We managed to train 40 environmental monitors. So these environmental monitors that we trained are going to be responsible for policing the residents of mine, and also teaching each other clean. So one of the exciting things that came out from an environmental symposium, which was at the Minister of Environment, Honorable Ndlovu, and we managed to get his issues that the waste pickers in Makokoba were facing. We also managed to showcase what is being done in the community in terms that encounter with positive feedback from the minister himself, and has really uplifted the community and the waste of environment and also and a living.
That's fantastic, Cinderella. That's really, really very encouraging and inspiring. We'll turn to Tatenda now, my sister's keeper. So you're motivated just by being a woman and just realizing how uncomfortable it is, how unhygienic, and really how it dampens a female self-confidence when you really don't have access to the proper menstrual care. And that's spurred you on in terms of starting My Sister's Keepers project. What are some of, how did you actually start? Like, yeah, how did you start your project? Because you mentioned that your focus was not on disposable, but you're actually making reusable pads.
Okay, so what happened, how I started was because I told you how I did. So then I then did a needs assessment. Like I went door to door in the area surrounding me, asking women how they take care of their menstruation, the challenges that they face, and all those things. So it was through these interactions that I got to understand that, okay, on some days they have menstrual hygiene products, and then on some days they can't afford it because they don't have maybe um, a constant supply, right? So that is what pushed me to then start reusable pads, because it was not sustainable for us to give them disposable pads, because they'll just use them for 1 month and then they can't use them the next month because they've disposed of them. So reusable pads were sustainable enough for them to use, because they can use them for up to 3 years. So that was then me looking into reusable pads. And because, like Cinderella mentioned, you had to work in a team, because teamwork gets the goal done. So that's when I then found tailors around, and there's a school where they educate women on tailoring and everything. So I partnered with them, and then we started making reusable pads. And because I didn't have a lot of funds, we're then using materials that they had that were left over from some projects that they were doing, so that it was easier for us to get these pads done for everyone to have them. So that is how I went about the project.
So you mentioned in the communities surrounding, well, the households surrounding you did a needs assessment, which, just tell our viewers which area you stay in and how many households you actually visited. How did you identify the tailors that you then proceeded to work with, and who else was part of your team?
Okay, so I'm currently staying in Gweru. So I'm staying in Koba, right? I'm staying in Koba 11. So I just went randomly to people. I started with people that I knew, and I was talking to them. But then, because the people that I knew, most of them actually could afford sanitary pads. And for them, it was just like, they didn't understand. But it was through my walking around, I found a community of women that are actually going through the most. And for them, it was, they'll tell you maybe the last time that they had sanitary products was probably 3 months ago, and they can't afford them, so for me, it then I really realized that no, these people actually need them, and they'll tell you the materials that they would use. And for me, it was just this one grandma who was crying because she doesn't need them, but her granddaughter does. And she was saying she struggles every month for her, and she's skipping school when she doesn't, when she's menstruating. So that's when it really hit me. And I started talking to people around about how we can have a solution for this. That's how I then met these tailors. Someone referred me to them, and that's when I met them, and I had a conversation with them, and they were very keen to help me. And they said, no, we'll just do anything for you. All you just have to do is provide us with the material, or we'll be using leftover material for the pads, because it's got a lot of layers. So some of the layers you can use the material, and then other layers, then it needs to be soft fabric, so that, because yeah. So yes, so that's how I went about it. Yes. So initially it was just me and my friends, because that was me. Those are the people that I knew. So it was easier for me to talk to them and tell them this is what I want to do. And we started with disposable pads, right, that we were distributing. It was easier for us to go to people and talk to them when we're giving them something, to understand what they're going through. When you say, okay, this is what we brought for you, but tell me, what are the challenges that you guys are facing? And then that's when they would tell us about the challenges, and they'll say, we appreciate what you're giving us, but next month you're not going to come. You're not going to give us these pads. And that means that we're going to go back to the challenges that we're facing the previous month. So we need something that is sustainable. And then the options that we had for sustainability were the cups and the reusable pads. But then cups are a bit pricey, and it's not every person that is comfortable with using them. So we needed something that they felt was safe for them to use and was also comfortable for them. So that's why we went for reusable pads.
Okay, now I do understand a little bit around reusable pads in terms of certification and ensuring that actually they are safe for you. So in your engagement with the community, in your engagement with various stakeholders, did you go through a process of getting your samples through to be verified to ensure that they are indeed safe for the ladies or for the recipients to use?
Well, that was a long process, and it's something that I wanted to do long term, so that you can actually have products that you're supplying that are 100% and they've been certified by SARS and the Ministry of Health. But for the project that I was doing, I then had to speak to nurses, had to be my best friend, to understand what materials that other people are using, and also from my own understanding on which material you'd use, because you need a layer that is going to be in contact with the skin, and you need a layer that is going to absorb, right? And then you would need the outer layer. So then you would look at the materials that you get. So when you're looking at reusable pads, the ones that are available in stores and that are available overseas, they have expensive material like bamboo and stuff like that. We don't even know what bamboo is. So it was then a matter of me looking for alternatives, saying, okay, fine. So the outer part, I had to use fleece for the one that will be in contact with the skin. And then in the middle, I also use fleece as well, because it absorbs, right? And then the one at the bottom had to be any material that is like nice and pretty, because sometimes people are just attracted to pretty things. So that is then what I went for. Because also your material shouldn't be, like with cotton, if you use it and it absorbs liquid, it gets hard. And you don't want that, because it makes you feel uncomfortable. So those are the things that you'll be looking at when you're trying out things, and you're looking at it and then you're like, okay, what about cotton? Because cotton really absorbs, but then you realize it becomes hard. And then some material, it gets so stiff that you can't even walk. So it was just a matter of us doing that. And also because we're doing that, we also had to talk to the ladies, because some of the ladies were involved in making them, because they wanted to make some for themselves, even because you just give them one or two. And this was like even after the project. So some of them, they would want to make their own, and they want to know the material that you'd have. So it was just a matter of sometimes you buy material. If you've got extra cash, buy material and go to the ladies and show them, okay, this is how we make them. So that even if they've got material that is lying around in their house, they can make for themselves, they can make for their children, and then they don't have to worry about any accidents happening or anything.
That's really amazing, and that's really clever. So you were also going around and empowering the women in your community that showed that they have a real need for this within their household, and kind of showing them this is how you can actually make this for yourself, and putting the power back, I guess, in their hands at something that is affordable and can be sustainable for them. That's really, really fantastic. Cinderella, just coming back to you with your project, how did the community respond to you? I mean, you guys, we talk about millennials being purpose driven. You understand that. I think there's a lot as well that is being said right now in the mass media around the importance of taking care of our environment. There's a lot of messaging around we only have one world, let's take care of it. But when I was growing up, we weren't exposed to those kind of messages. And when I think about the communities that you approached, did people really understand and appreciate the importance of having a clean environment? How did the community respond to you when you went out and started talking about and championing, let's keep the environment around us clean. Let's not have dirt or rubbish accumulating in a dump right outside your yard.
I would say there were mixed feelings depending on the audience, because through some of the programs I had to, working with Emma, I had to stand at roadblocks, stopping cars, getting inside the bus and make the announcement to say, hey, excuse me, Babereki Wazali, please don't litter, don't
I can't imagine doing that.
kind of things. And you know, the combi conductors are not so, you know what, littering is an offense. It's a punishable offense by law, and it's really bad that you keep on polluting the environment. Just have a bin in your vehicle. When you go to other community like in
Hi, Cinderella.
the most part, I would say that definitely people were responsive, because I think it bothers everyone. It really bothers everyone. So going into the communities with that message also sparked some kind of energy within communities. We had 40 voluntary environmental monitors that took up the challenge to say, we'd really want to get involved, we really want to receive this training. And it was really, really amazing. And overall, I would say it was a great response from the community, the environment, and they really want to do better. All they need is just a little push and a bit of support. But otherwise, it was really a great engagement.
And you talked about the volunteers, the 40 volunteers. Were they from one community, or because you mentioned Makokoba in the beginning, were they from one community, or they were from several communities within Bulawayo?
So Makokoba being sort of like a pilot project, working with the COVID task force for the ward, which is Ward 7. So I'm currently working on replicate program to other wards in Bulawayo, working with the same stakeholders that I started with, so that the program reaches every corner of Bulawayo, and community also gets to learn from each other, just as the community of Makokoba has really taken up the challenge to say they want to also be actively involved, instead of always having to be recipients of all these waste management services. So in Makokoba, the Zimbabwe company adopted the community. So every once in a month or once in a while, they go into the community with their excavators, front end loaders, to clear waste dumps. So in one of the cleanups that I attended, a 20-ton tipper had to go back and forth 5 times just for one dump.
That's major. That sounds so hectic. We seem to be having some connectivity issues with Cinderella. Sorry, we lost you for a bit.
Hello.
You're talking about the the huge truck that was going in 5 times to clear one dump.
Yeah. As I was saying, a 20-ton tipper truck had to go back 5 times to clear this one dump. So it was really something that's really shocking, and engaging the community to say, guys, how are you feeling like living quite such a huge dump, and all these health implications that are associated with living in such an environment. So it was really evoking emotions from the community to say that, you know, this is really bad, and they felt that they really had to step up to do something about it. And I think that really Makokoba is a really exemplary community in terms of community action, community mobilization, especially their local COVID task force. They didn't necessarily limit themselves to say, oh no, we only look at COVID issues, but they stepped in to also solve this challenge that they were seeing in their community.
Fantastic. Tell me, how did so the COVID task force was obviously part of the local authority leadership. And you also mentioned to us in the beginning that your project did catch the attention of one of the local administrators. How did they respond to you, and how did you catch his attention? And did they do anything to facilitate, to assist you, to give you an additional voice, and to, I guess, maybe reinforce the message that you were taking to the community?
So the leadership from the force was really helpful in mobilizing everything. I remember when we were doing the training, we had to ask for a venue from a local church, and the community was willing to spend the whole day. We were hungry the whole day, no food, no water, nothing. But everyone sat throughout the training, and they asked questions, and they were really excited about what we are trying to achieve. So to me, it was really inspiring how people can just volunteer without expecting anything in return, just to make sure that the environment that they live in is clean. So it's getting the attention of the minister also required a lot of coordination with the Environmental Management Agency, and writing to a lot of stakeholders, following up, making some posts, and also getting everything in place, because you had to have a tent, you had to sanitize and still had to wipe out the room, you had to fix the program for the day, because seeing the minister was coming, everything really had to be perfect. So it was, I think I would say it was my first event planned, my first big event that I planned, and I was really happy how it turned out, and I think I can do it again.
No, well done for that. Absolutely. Now you can do anything. Now you can absolutely, you've mobilized the whole community, gotten 40 volunteers, established a sustainable project in terms of keeping the environment clean. You can absolutely do anything at all. Absolutely anything you put your mind to. And Tatenda, turning back to you, what was the response of the community? You mentioned that you started with people that you know, which is where we should all start, people that you know, and then it started spreading from there. And you also mentioned when you were talking about part of your research to figure out how best to make this pad, to make sure that it's comfortable, to make sure that it's pretty, to make sure that it does the job that it's supposed to do. You engaged health workers in terms of nurses. Can you just tell us a little bit of how the community at large really responded to you? Did you engage with other local authorities in terms of your advocacy, and how that all panned out?
Okay, so the community people were very excited, and they welcomed the project. Remember, there's a school just before lockdown. We're supposed to go and do a workshop where we'd make reusable pads with the kids there. the A-level kids. So that's how much they were very happy to have it, because it's an issue that they were facing as a school, because they were saying that you're not getting any other supplies or anything, and when they do, sometimes they don't get what gets, maybe they might get penty liners for the kids, but then that's not what they need. So they were pretty excited, and it was now going to other schools as well. Though the local authorities, they were just quiet about it. I tried to reach to our local counselor, and yeah, he wasn't interested. He kept saying, I'll get back to you, but then he wasn't interested. But I was like, oh, okay, well, that happens. So that was that. So I just also realized that this is I know the goal that I want, and it is a very personal thing for the girl child. So expecting a male counselor to understand would be uh yeah, it would be far-fetched, because some just don't want to understand that. Some do, but some men are still really ignorant about that subject. So it was just one of those. I was just like, oh, okay, cool, that's fine. So local authorities in my city, I haven't engaged any, but individuals have really been forthcoming when it comes to this issue.
City of Gweru local councillors, come on, guys, let's get on with the program. Period poverty is a real issue. I mean, over 60% of our population in Zimbabwe alone is women. And an even higher proportion of that, under the age, like we're saying, under the age of 30. So it's a real period poverty is a real thing. And I hope that they're listening tonight and that they will step up to the challenge. So what platforms did you use to create awareness about your project? Because I'm sure you had to, because I know that you self-funded this, so we're going to talk about that a little bit later on in terms of how you funded the project. Like, I can hear from both parties, from the both of you, that there was a lot of administration work, a lot of phone calls, gathering people, organizing this, organizing that, and I'm sure it did not come at no cost. So how did you create awareness? Did you go into a fundraising mode? What platforms did you use? We'll start with you, Tatenda, and then we'll go to Cinderella.
Okay, so I use Twitter and Facebook.
Okay, Cinderella. Over Tatenda has just dropped off. I'm sure she'll join us shortly. She was talking about how she made use of Twitter. Yes, Cinderella. I mean, sorry, Tatenda, yeah.
I'm sorry, it just butchered me out there. So I use Twitter and Facebook, especially Facebook, because that's when I had like an awareness where I would just post every day. I made a point that every day I was posting something to do with menstruation, just to educate people about menstrual health and the reality of period poverty. And it was from there that I got a lot of people being interested in the project and coming on board to help and support in the way that they can. So that's when we had the pad drive, where we got the disposable pads that we donated, and also some people coming in and saying, how can we help? We're very excited. And also it was from there that some girls that I knew opened up to me about how they've been victims of period poverty at some point in their life. So it's then that's when you really realize that this is a reality, that at some point someone that you know might have gone through it, but they were not able to talk about it. So it was from that a lot of women were willing to join in and really support the goal. So yeah, that's what I did. Facebook, it was very amazing. The response that I got from there was very amazing. And I had a couple of my friends in Botswana were saying, okay, we want to do the same thing. And yeah, so it was really great.
Fantastic. And did people who showed you a lot of love online, did that translate offline into something that you could actually action? Or just that moral support was what you were looking for?
Well, it was both. The moral support was great, but then other people's support really translated to something tangible on the ground. It was, sometimes just simply sharing a poster to somebody, that really got people involved. But for me, what I did was I went to my friends, right, and we had a paid forward approach to getting our donations. So I went to my friends and I challenged them to challenge 5 of their friends to donate pads. So it was my 5, and then they would get their 5. That way, we were able to get a lot more from people because if it was just me going to the people that I know, there are very few. But if my friends went on to 5 people, then we reached more people through that. And it was also from there that we now have like a little group where every month we're donating sanitary pads to, we choose if we're going to take it on orphanage, we're going to take it where? On a monthly basis. So it's just 20 of us. So we know that 20 girls are covered for every month. So yeah, so it was really great. So the support was great, and yeah, we're
That's
still
brilliant.
going.
And if there's someone out there who is listening who wants to assist the 20 girls who are coming together every single month, how do they reach out to you?
Okay, they can just send me a message on my Facebook account. That is Tatenda Gombani on my Facebook, or on my Twitter, and it's Gombani Tatenda. So they can just reach me on those platforms. I always respond to messages. So yeah.
Fantastic. And if anyone is listening and you do want to get in touch, you can use Tatenda's social media handles, or you can inbox us and we'll be sure to connect you. Cinderella, what platforms do you use to create awareness for your environmental project?
So I also used the same platforms as Tatenda, especially Twitter, because even launching my nonprofit, I started with a Twitter account before I even formally registered as an organization. So through the Twitter space, I managed to be able to raise awareness. Each time I do an activity, I take pictures, I post and engage the community, people also reflecting and responding based on what they are also experiencing in their community. So in my advocacy campaign, I didn't want to start off by maybe like promising people to say you'll be getting money or I'll be giving you this and that, because I knew that it's a very difficult task, and sometimes it's one of the things that ends up leading to the dying down of projects, because once you start having to offer people things, then once those things disappear, people also disappear. So from the get-go, with the communities that I have worked with, everyone knows that they are praying for themselves and for the environment that they are living in. So social media is powerful. Usually says social media is your friend. Papers don't write about you. You can write about yourself on social media.
Absolutely. And you guys seem to have done such a fantastic job in making use of that tool, which of course is freely available. Well, there are data costs. Nothing's really truly free. How did you fund your projects? Was it out of pocket money? Did you have a little fundraising thing on the side? How did you raise funds to cater for the administrative costs in order to actually to run it and to do everything that you needed to do?
Also, for most part of for my advocacy campaign, especially the cleanup campaigns, it was a matter of coordinating with the Environmental Management Agency and the Bulawayo City Council. Each time a community holds a cleanup, the council shows up with their vehicles. The Environmental Management Agency shows up with cleaning material. So what the community is just to show up in person and do the job on the ground. So, and as far as the other things, administrative costs, I've been using my own data to contact people, to send emails, and things like that, which I don't mind. But I hope, like as I move forward with the project, I also introduce some kind of fundraising so that I can be able to sustain all of these things. And if I'm to bring a larger group on board, I can then be able to even cater for their data costs instead of always expecting people to to pull out the resources that they need. For the project that we held in Makokoba, it was a zero budget. The community did pretty well. The chairperson for the COVID task force in Ward 7 was really amazing, Mr. Ndlovu. He really managed to help in terms of coordinating the community and bringing everyone together to say that we are not doing this for anyone else, but we're doing it for ourselves, because
A few more seconds. Usually, as I say, the network is being a problem. She sort of comes back online. So she's talking about Makokoba being zero rated and that the community actually came together and they didn't have to make use of funds. Tatenda, on your end, how did you fundraise? How did you get the funds to do what you've done so far?
So for me, well, I didn't need a lot of funds because of the nature of the project. So the workshops and just educating the women was free. You didn't need money for that. You just needed your time and your passion. And with the sanitary pads that I got, the disposable ones, it was through a pad drive where people donated those. But then when it came to the material that I then needed for the reusable pads, that's when I had to go into my own pockets and really see how we can do it and get the first pads that we did from there. But then from then onwards, it was really friends and family, those people that really wanted to come and support the vision that came in and donated some funds. But now I'm very excited because Old Mutual has empowered me with some money so that the project can go on. They were very kind.
Fantastic. Shout out
So
to Old Mutual.
yes, so I'm hoping that the funds are going to help me grow the project, and they're going to help me actually reach out to more. So there's a very exciting project that I'm working on. So yeah, fingers crossed, it's going to be exciting. So yeah,
Oh,
as we
well,
continue to fight period poverty.
well done. That's really, really fantastic. Cinderella, we lost you
Thank
for
you.
a minute there, but I think we did get the fact that Makokoba was zero rated and that the community really helped in pulling together and making what you did and what you have accomplished in Makokoba happen. Just as we start to wind up now, just two last questions. The impact. What's been the impact of your project, and how are you growing it outside of Makokoba? If it's you, Cinderella, Tatenda, I think you've almost answered that question for us in that Old Mutual has come on board. They're going to be assisting you, and you're working on something that is bigger and that is going to reach more goals. But so for what you've done and what you started and what you did in the month of April, what has been that impact? We'll start with you, Cinderella.
Okay, so from my end, I've really been working towards engaging more communities, and having done a lot of these activities, I've also managed to rope in other institutions as well. I'm now currently working together with my profit Green Heart. We are now working with Vital Recycling, the institution led by Kudakwashe Dliwayo. So we are working on training as many waste pickers as possible on the business and entrepreneur aspect. So now we are coordinating with the community of Nkulumane, and we have 3 more communities lined up just before the year ends that we want to train.
Oh my gosh, you ladies are making me so super proud. That is amazing, Cinderella. That's absolutely amazing. Tatenda, further to what you shared with us around Old Mutual and something exciting that you're working on, what has been the impact you've seen in the community, and what are you doing to further it outside of Mukoba and your immediate surrounding?
So because of the lockdown, we're really limited because the girls couldn't go to their workshop anymore, and because they're schoolgirls, so because schools were closed, they couldn't go anymore. But then that didn't stop us. We still went on with the disposable pads and a pet drive where we're still donating those, and people are still coming in and we're still donating. We've also started donating in Mutapa which is another suburb here in Gweru. I'm now working with an organization called Women of Africa, and they're also passionate about the girl child. And we're working on pet drives. We're trying to constantly supply these girls with menstrual hygiene products at all times. So that is the impact, but also we're trying to have a financial impact on the tailors that we're working on. We've taught them, we've empowered them with the skill, and they are now even selling these sanitary pads. So we've also put on a measure where we're trying to get them to make these sanitary pads, and we buy them from them. So we pay them for the pads that they are making, so they actually make some money for themselves. Right. So that's what we're trying to do. And so far we've managed to do a little bit of that, and it is great. Their lives are changing because of the financial impact that the project has had on them, and they're even more interested in making the pads because everyone loves money. So that is what the impact that I've had. But I'm just hoping to make more impact and to reach more girls and to actually have more people supporting so that we can really escalate the project.
Amazing. You guys are doing such a phenomenal job. And August is Women's Month. We're celebrating Women's Month. And on Thando channel, we're celebrating Women's Month. So just in 2 minutes, so that we can just wind up, 2 minutes. Who is your favorite African lady? Like, who inspires you the most? In 2 minutes. Tatenda, shall we start with you? Winding up.
Okay, so the lady that inspires me, she's Zimbabwean. I only recently found out about her recently. Her name is Divine Ndlukuka. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Yes, she's the C. Yes, exactly. I didn't know that she was it was a female who was CEO of Securico, and it was very exciting to find out that. So it's just really empowering to know that women are actually doing it and they're doing big things out there. And she's also empowering other women because apparently our company is employing over 900 female security guards. So that is amazing. Shout out to her.
Absolutely, yes. She's doing an amazing job. She's the first woman to run a security company, and she is doing amazing things to empower women. Cinderella, who inspires you?
Me, African lady who inspires me is Wanjira Matai, who's the daughter to the Nobel Peace Prize, Harry Matai. So get the opportunity to facilitate this global event where Wanjira was speaking, and it was really exciting. I was there with her. I think what makes me draw inspiration from her is all the amazing work that she's doing in terms of advocating for social and environmental change, both from the African perspective and at an international scale. I mean, like from 2018 to 2020, she was one of the top 100 women. So she's really that she's making in Kenya and in the African continent as at large. I think she's a true embodied generational wealth, considering so the works of her mother, the Nobel Peace Prize winner Wangari Maathai. So I really, really look up to her.
Amazing. Ladies, I really, really enjoyed having this conversation with you. Everybody who's joined us on Facebook, on YouTube, thank you so very much. This is going to be on our Facebook page. So if you didn't manage to catch us live, you haven't missed anything, and it'll still be there. Go in and hear what Cinderella and Tatenda are doing. Really amazing things. Thank you for your time. We'll see you next month for another edition of Closer Perspective here on Thando channel. Stay safe in whatever you're doing and have a good evening. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you so much, Safi. Thank you for having us. It was great being here.
I enjoyed talking to you guys. I'm so inspired. Bye-bye.